occasion of the World Diabetes Day, I welcome you all to the first edition of video series on public awareness by Apothec Healthcare. As per the International Diabetic Federation, around 80 million people are living with diabetes in India. This number is huge, in fact the highest in the world. The whole objective of this video is to create awareness. Let us hope together we understand and we work towards in making India the diabetic care capital of the world rather than calling it as the diabetic capital of the world. I am Aarti Sujit. On behalf of Apothec Healthcare, I am the host for today's show, and with me I have Dr. Rohit Warrior. He is a renowned diabetologist with clinical experience in India, US and UK. So let us welcome him to the show. Welcome Dr. Rohit Warrior.
Thank you so much, Aarti.
Hello doctor. So when we talk about diabetes, the first question is, what is basically diabetes? Why so much of importance is given in controlling diabetes?
Yes, Aarti, that's a very valid question for the simple reason that you would be surprised to know that a majority of the population in India, although they are very familiar with the term diabetes, per se, they don't know what the condition is. So just to make it very simple, in a very simple terminology, diabetes means it's a condition where the blood sugars are actually higher than the normal range, than the target range under which the blood sugar should be controlled. So whenever the blood sugar is on the higher side, that particular clinical condition is known as diabetes. Now, people might ask, what might be the reason behind it? Why is that the blood sugar should go above the normal range? So to put in very simple terminology, basically what happens is that there is a very crucial and important hormone called insulin. And this hormone, insulin, is the key factor that is responsible for keeping the blood sugars under control. So I would like to give a very simple analogy. Insulin is like the key in a lock. So insulin is the key. If you have the right key, insulin actually is responsible for the glucose or the blood sugar to enter in all the cells of the body, and that's how the cells get their energy for day-to-day function. So insulin, I would like to visualize it like the key of a lock. So if you don't have the right key, you cannot open the lock. So that is what happens in diabetes. Although insulin is present in the system in type 2 diabetes, but that insulin is not able to work. It's not able to open the lock, and that's why the sugar remains high in the blood and that sugar is not able to enter the cells. That is what we typically say as type 2 diabetes. Whereas on the other hand, we also have something known as type 1 diabetes, where there is complete absence of insulin production in the body. So that is what we basically mean by diabetes, and this is the reason why blood sugar tends to be high in these patients.
Okay. So doctor, we all are going through this COVID pandemic right now. I have heard that, diabetes and COVID, there is a relation, and the people are more susceptible to COVID if they are diabetic. So how far it is true?
Yes, actually that's again a very, very important question in this current pandemic scenario. The whole world is affected by this COVID pandemic, and there's a lot of, people are undergoing a lot of, unnecessary trouble, and a lot of issues are going around the world.
It's a panic situation, basically.
Absolutely, absolutely. So one thing what I want people to understand is that you don't need to be over anxious. That is the first thing. Always always keep your calm, always understand what the current scenario is. And there are a few crucial facts that should be known so that you can reduce the risk of, this infection in people who are actually diabetic. So the simple thing, what you should understand is that having diabetes is not a risk factor for acquiring COVID-19 infection. But at the same time, one thing what you should know is, if your blood sugars are not under control, your chances of having worsening clinical outcomes in a patient with COVID is higher. So for the simple reason, let us say, unfortunately, if someone who is a diabetic, he or she also contracts the COVID-19 virus. So unfortunately, in that scenario, the chances of that patient ending up with a COVID-19 complication is higher. But like I mentioned earlier on, there is no increased risk per se of just because you're having diabetes that you are more susceptible to COVID. There is no data to show that. So please take care, make sure your blood sugars are under control. So once that is achieved, you don't need to be too over anxious about, about this COVID infection.
Okay. That's a very valid point. In fact, that helped many of the people to understand,
Yes.
there is no reason to be panicked just because you're diabetic, but yes, it's a very important thing.
Yeah.
So doctor, in the current scenario, is there any precaution that a diabetic patient should take care of? What are your recommendations?
Yes, so this is actually in continuation with the previous question about the COVID-19 pandemic. There are certain things that we actually need to look into to make sure that, even patients with diabetes, their chances of actually acquiring this infection and the complications due to the infection should actually be reduced. So in view of that, there are certain precautions that all of us need to take. Few important things what I would like to emphasize is, just like I say to all the people in general, basic hygiene measures are very, very important. Always frequent hand washing. Let's say if you're going out, you're coming back home, or if you've been in contact with another person as such, make sure that you always wash your hands frequently with soap and water, and that it should be a very thorough hand wash. At least for 30-second duration. So that will ensure that if the virus is actually contracted in your hands, it is actually wiped out through very good cleaning. So it is very important that hand washing has to be emphasized in all these patients.
Let's rub your hands and clean it properly.
Absolutely,
yes.
Absolutely.
Most of the advertisement are also trying to create the same awareness.
Absolutely. And I would say the second most important thing is always wear a face mask. So it is very crucial to keep your nose and your mouth protected for two simple reasons. One, what we have seen is that this virus is actually airborne. It's transmitted through aerosols, So if you have a person sitting next to you, and if unfortunately that person has the virus, if he or she coughs and sneezes, you will actually contract the virus if you're not wearing a mask. Second thing, by any chance, if you have the virus within you, and if you're not wearing a mask, if you cough or you sneeze, you give it to the person next to you. So for these two simple reasons, wearing a mask has shown to drastically reduce the risk of transmission of this virus. So that is the most important thing in terms of maintaining the basic hygiene measures. And again, another most important thing, like I mentioned, keeping your diabetes under control is very, very important. So I would say make sure that you check your blood sugars very often. If possible, check your blood sugars daily. Check the fasting sugar, check the 2 hours postprandial blood sugars on a daily basis. Keep a chart, maintain your blood sugars on a chart to know exactly, what is your current status concerning your diabetes, and keep it always under the target as per the suggestion of your doctor. So this will go a long way in preventing any possible complications associated with this, COVID-19 virus.
Okay, so is cholesterol and hypertension also related to this? Does it affect in diabetes in any way?
Yes, that is again a very crucial and important question, So this is one thing which I always keep telling. Diabetes does not come alone by itself. It always brings along with it its siblings. So who are its siblings? Bad cholesterol, high blood pressure. So that is why it is so important that along with controlling your diabetes, make sure you always keep your cholesterol under target, make sure your blood pressure is under target, because ultimately it is a combination of all these three factors that ultimately results in long-term complications associated with diabetes. So it is very important that all these three factors are kept under control to prevent any of the long-term complications. And I think we can have a little more detailed discussion about the complications associated with diabetes in the next few questions that's coming up.
Okay. So, doctor, is there any diet, can we control this diabetics to a particular diet?
Yeah, so that is a question which, a majority of the population actually have in their mind. The first thing they ask me is, doctor, is there any particular diet plan that we can stick to, through which we can actually take care of our diabetes? Do we actually need to go on medicines for our diabetes? So one thing we need to understand is that, yes, diet is a very crucial factor in managing your diabetes well. This is something.
Yeah, we should note that diet is very important.
Yes, yes. So now, what do I mean by saying diet is very important? First and foremost thing, always make sure that you follow a balanced diet plan. Now, what do I mean by a balanced diet plan? A balanced diet plan means you have adequate incorporation of green leafy vegetables in your diet. You take at least a fruit per day. A lot of people think if you're a diabetic, you should not consume a fruit. That is actually wrong. You can consume fruit in moderation. That is the key word.
So is there any any restriction that you're not supposed to eat like certain fruits, or are you open to eat anything?
Yes.
Every other fruit?
Yes, that is again a very valid question, because different fruits have different glycemic index. So glycemic index is basically a marker of how much fruit you eat, how much the blood sugars will rise. So if I have half a cup of banana, if I have half a cup of apple, the amount of blood sugar rise between these two fruits are different. So that is why preferably I would say on a general basis, I would say it is okay to consume apple, a small orange. It is okay to consume a small banana. But typically what I would say is it's better to avoid fruits which are higher in its glycemic index. For example, pomegranates. That is again very high in its glycemic index. So better to avoid those, but make sure you consume at least one fruit per day as per the suggestion of your doctor, because fruit has a plethora of other beneficial effects. So it is rich in micronutrients also, which is very essential for maintaining your overall health. So like I mentioned, incorporate more green leafy vegetables, have a fruit per day, avoid processed foods to the greatest extent possible. Processed foods like what we get in the bakery, fried items, all those are highly processed foods, and that has actually shown to be detrimental both for your diabetes as well as for your cholesterol. So make sure that you cut down on those food items to the greatest extent possible. And of course, like we always say, smoking, alcohol is definitely injurious to health. You have to avoid it at any cost, because that is again associated with a lot of other complications, and along with that, if you also have diabetes, that again leads to higher rate of complications. So avoid smoking, alcohol to the as much as possible. Try to stop it. That is what I would recommend. And even red meat, because red meat is again shown to have high, it is rich in cholesterol. It is fat laden, a lot of the red meat. So it is always better to restrict the intake of red meat also. So lean meat is fine. I would say chicken or fish is okay, but as much as possible, yeah, exactly. And the type how you prepare this meat is also very important. If you make it rich in oil and all that, that's again harmful for you. So you can have it, as a gravy with very minimal amount of oil in it. That is absolutely okay.
So, doctor, when you were talking about diet, this is one question that came into my mind, because currently we all are trending with this new diet, which is the keto diet. So how far, because keto diet is again concentrating on more of non-veg and fatty stuff. So how does it help the diabetes? Because there is one more thing, is my second question would be on intermittent fasting. So does intermittent fasting help in reversing the diabetic in a person?
Yes. So this question has two vital important components to it. Let's take it one by one. So the first one is the keto diet. Keto diet is one of the fad diets, what I call it. It's come into a lot of controversy recently. In fact, just last week I read some unfortunate news about one of the actresses actually she passed away because apparently she was on a very strict keto diet. So that is why what I would say is all these diets, typically the keto diet, all these diets are basically experimental diets. They have been designed to be the participants who actually participate in these trials. They were, their lifestyle was controlled for a certain period of time, 3 months, 4 months, and they were asked to do particularly only this kind of activity, and the food habits were completely changed. So that is again an experimental diet. An experimental diet as such, typically does not work well with the day-to-day routine life, because our day-to-day routine life is filled with a lot of challenges and the routine activity is very different from what we do typically in a clinical trial. So I wouldn't recommend to go with any of these experimental diets, because that's an extreme form of a diet. So always go for a balanced, well-rounded, wholesome diet like I explained earlier on, and that has shown to produce good results in the long run. Now coming to the second part of your question in terms of the intermittent fasting, that is again a very important concept that people should be aware of. So the basic philosophy or the idea behind intermittent fasting is restriction of calories. The amount of calories you take, that is basically cut down. And in this intermittent fasting diet, what they advocate is, the last meal should be at 6 p.m. in the day. After that, please don't consume anything until the next day morning. So that is why they call it intermittent fasting. For a certain duration of around 10 to 12 hours, you're not supposed to eat anything. Now, one good thing about this diet is that, yes, this diet is actually emphasizing on restricting the calories, which is good, which is what we typically have shown beneficial results in the patient with diabetes. But again, what I would say is take it as a case-by-case individual basis. There are some patients who have very brittle form of diabetes. Their blood sugars always keep fluctuating and it is not at all stable. For them, we have to be very careful in the, while advocating these kind of diets, because that might actually turn back on them. If you all of a sudden, if you cut your calories to a very great extent, you'll find that the blood sugars start fluctuating to extreme levels. So always go for a balanced, well, wholesome diet, like I mentioned, and that will definitely help you in the long run. And always discuss with your doctor and your dietitian. They will be the right persons to actually help you with the diet. So, like I mentioned earlier on, it is very important that you get in touch with your doctor and the dietitian, so that they can give you a wholesome diet plan, and that will definitely go a long way in managing your diabetes very well. And of course, if you have any further questions, you can always approach us. We have a very well qualified dietitian at Apotek. Please approach us and we will definitely give you definite answers for your questions you have.
Very true. Always consult a dietitian and take the support of your doctor. But one question, Dr. Rohit, as we were having this coffee, just want to understand, like, how about this daily? Especially the Indian crowd, we are addicted to coffee or tea on a daily basis. How far it is going to affect our diabetes?
Yes, that is again a very valid question, because a lot of us are actually, as you rightly pointed out, Aarti, a lot of us are actually very addicted to coffee and tea. So interestingly, you might be very surprised to know that even these daily beverages that we have, they have a profound effect on your blood sugar control. Because what is seen is that one thing for sure, coffee is something that has been, a lot of research has actually gone into, about coffee effects of caffeine on the system. But one thing for sure, what we have typically seen is that caffeine has some kind of a protective effect on on these neurodegenerative diseases, what we say, like Alzheimer's and all that. So a moderate intake of coffee on a regular basis has shown some kind of a protection towards these kind of complications that is actually associated with long-term diabetes. Because people with diabetes, they are actually at higher risk for contracting this kind of neurodegenerative problems later on in their life. So coffee has actually shown to have some kind of a protection if it is used in moderate quantities. That is the key word here I would like to emphasize.
In
because
moderate
again,
quantity.
yes, because again, excess of anything can be harmful unless we have the data on it. So always use coffee in moderation. So please go ahead and enjoy your coffee well in moderation, so that won't be an issue.
Okay, all right. Dr. Rohit, that was a great information when it comes to the diet. But now I would request you to throw some light and elaborate, like, what are the complications associated with diabetes if it is not under control?
Absolutely. This is another very, very important concept that people should be aware of, because a lot of times patients actually come over to me and they ask me, Doctor, why should I keep my blood sugars under control? Is there a necessity to keep it controlled? So what if it's high? So one thing all of us need to understand is that uncontrolled diabetes over a long period of time actually leads to a lot of complications in the future. So what are those typical complications? Now, before I actually get into the complications per se, I'd like to just give you a simple analogy so that the people would be able to understand it better. Let us say I have a white piece of paper and it's a little wet, and on the paper I actually put some sugar over it. Now, the blood glucose, what we have in our system, is a kind of sugar. It's glucose. So that same sugar, I just put it on the piece of wet paper. What happens? The sugar sticks on to the paper, right? That is what typically happens inside the body also. If the blood sugar is high, that same blood sugar actually, goes on and sticks on to different, organs and cells of the body. And that over a long period of time ultimately translates to complications, So that is why literally uncontrolled diabetes and high blood sugar can affect any organ in the body, because it is that same high sugar levels in the blood that is reaching every cell in your body. So that is why it is important to keep your blood sugars under control to prevent these long-term complications. Now, if I have to very broadly categorize it, we say in medical terms there is something known as microvascular complications, there is something known as macrovascular complications. As the word says, micro means small, macro means big. Vascular means your blood vessels. So if the diabetes is affecting the small blood vessels in your body, and that is typically found in the eyes, it is found in your kidneys, and is also found in the peripheral nerves. So if these typical cells are affected, that is what we typically say microvascular complications. So they might end up with damage to your eyes, damage to your kidney, damage to your peripheral nerves. Whereas on the other hand, if the blood vessels are slightly of larger diameter, what we call macrovascular complications, that is what we see in the heart. That is what we typically see in a patient who's afflicted with stroke. So those are the larger diameter blood vessels that are actually affected. So this is a very broad way of categorizing, the complications that could happen in the future with uncontrolled diabetes. But ultimately, there is one single message that I would like to convey. People should understand this. Managing diabetes is much more simpler and easier as compared to managing the complications associated with diabetes in the long run, because you can just imagine you have had an episode of heart attack, you are admitted in the hospital, the expenses associated with undergoing a bypass surgery or an angioplasty, and the physiotherapy after that, and the process after that is very complicated. The expenses are very high. So one simple thing, if you had managed your diabetes, your blood pressure, your cholesterol very well in the beginning, we could have actually prevented these complications to a large extent. So that is why managing diabetes is much more easier than the expenses and the problems associated with the complications later on. So please make sure that you take care to manage your diabetes well to prevent these complications.
Okay. So doctor, how far can we control diabetes with the help of tablets? And what is your take on insulin therapy?
Right. This is another important concept. This is something that I always want to emphasize, Aarati. It's very important because what people understand is that if a doctor prescribes insulin, they think that the diabetes has really gone bad, or their everything has gone tipsy topsy, and everything is really downhill from there. But one thing what we need to understand is that now recent research has actually shown that early insulin initiation has shown to be very beneficial in patients with diabetes, because for the simple reason, let me just explain this to you. Once a patient has been diagnosed with diabetes, 50% of his insulin producing cells are destroyed. So he has to live the rest of his life with the remaining 50% of those cells. And let us say if the diabetes is uncontrolled for further duration, that cell number further keeps decreasing. So that is where the importance of early insulin therapy comes in. So what are you doing with early insulin therapy? You're actually supporting your pancreatic cells. If you're giving insulin from outside, so if you have a sick person at home, and you're actually asking the sick person to do the daily course for you at home, is that a good thing to do? Of course, his condition is going to worsen. So he needs help from outside, isn't it? There should be someone to take care of him, someone to take care of the course of the daily life. So this is what is typically happening. If your pancreas are sick because of diabetes, the number of cells are destroyed because of your diabetes, you're actually giving help from outside, by supplementing yourself with insulin therapy. So this concept is known as beta cell rest. Early insulin initiation helps in beta cell rest. So this concept of beta cell rest is actually gaining a lot of importance recently from medical research, because now the emphasis is not just on reducing the blood sugar number, the emphasis on actually preserving the health, maintaining the number of active beta cells, insulin producing cells in the pancreas, So that is why now early insulin initiation is actually recommended, by a lot of medical authorities as such. Now coming to the first part of your question, tablets as such. Now, one thing what all of us should understand is that, we always provide a customized therapy for each and every patient. It's not that, we go by this particular, stage you're in diabetes, you need tablets, this particular stage you need insulin. We always try to individualize the therapy. So now the mantra is personalized therapy for each and every patient. Based on their
health reports?
Absolutely, based on the health report, what is your unique condition. Based on that, the doctor will decide what is the best treatment plan for you. But although I said that, one thing what we can understand is that if it is a very early form of diabetes, or what we can say mild diabetes, if we can call it that way, where the HbA1c or the 3 months blood sugar average is not too high, if that is a number which is just a little above normal, then probably tablets would definitely do a good job. You don't need to actually initiate insulin at that point of time. But again, please work with your doctor, speak with your doctor, and follow your doctor's advice, and your doctor is the best person to advise what is the best treatment for you.
Absolutely. Another thing, Dr. Rohit, that came to my mind is home monitoring of diabetic. Like a regular monitoring of diabetes is a pillar, right, when it comes to a diabetic patient.
Yes.
So how far is this home monitoring recommended, and
Yes.
are the current new glucometers effective?
Yes. Arti, I think you use the right term, the pillar. So that pillar is the right term in your question. So your question itself has the answer to it. Home monitoring of blood sugars is the pillar of diabetes management. Now, why do I say it is the pillar of diabetes management? Because when this home monitoring, or what we call the self-monitoring of blood sugar, was not there many years ago, probably 30-40 years ago, this kind of approach to managing diabetes was not there. Also because of the lack of availability of
I do agree, because I've seen my parents or elders, they used to take a monthly one-day checkup to the
Yes.
clinic and get their blood.
Yes.
So it was a monthly routine. But
Yes.
nowadays,
Yes.
it's going to be a daily checkup.
Yes, absolutely. So this is like you're opening the window more and more. If you want to look into your system, how is your blood sugar changing on a daily basis? What factors affect it? So you're actually opening the window more and more. You're actually taking a good look deep inside what is happening inside your body. Like you said earlier on, monthly checkup, once you will just check your fasting and after food sugar value, and the doctor has to decide what is the best therapy for you. That's a very crude way. But now with the advent of monitoring of blood sugars using glucometers, you're getting a daily insight of how your blood sugars are. And with that insight, you with your doctor will be able to decide on what is the best way you can manage your diabetes with diet, exercise, and the appropriate therapy. So that is why it is very crucial that home monitoring of blood sugar is done on a regular basis, and keep a chart of your blood sugars and show it to your doctor when you're consulting with your doctor next time. And with that chart, the doctor will be able to advise what is the best treatment plan for you. And now coming to the next very important question you asked, are the glucometers good enough, for monitoring your diabetes? Again, one thing, what people, they have this misconception that glucometers are not accurate. Only if I go to the lab and get a blood test done, the value is actually reliable.
Maybe the traditional method, people are so accustomed to it.
Absolutely, that is the concept they have in their mind. You always need to go to a lab to rely on your results. But now you'll be very surprised and very interested to know that if a glucometer is from a reliable company and it is of a recent model, most of these glucometers are very accurate. So what I would say is the value what you would get from a venous sample from your vein is more or less very close to the value what you actually get from a glucometer. So the results are very comparable. It's just a 5% window what you can have a difference from the actual result. So it is a very accurate result. So please use a glucometer to monitor your blood sugars at home, and with those values, please approach your doctor next time, and the doctor will be able to make a much more good decision for you on managing your diabetes based on those values.
So that's a valid point from Dr. Rohit. Please get a glucometer from a reliable company and keep monitoring this thing. And this is a wonderful, message for the awareness of diabetes.
Yes.
I just have one final question to you, Dr. Rohit.
Sure.
What is exactly continuous glucose monitoring? I mean, what kind of people do you recommend it?
Yes. This is again something which is very important. Now, I would like to actually, tell you one simple fact. The way diabetes was managed probably 30, 40 years ago is completely different from the way we manage it now. Why, you might ask? If you ask me the question why, it is just for the simple reason, technology. Technology has played such an important role in managing diabetes in the current scenario. And this continuous glucose monitoring is the prime example of technology being used in diabetes management. Now, as the word suggests, continuous glucose monitoring, so this is a system where the device actually records your blood sugar every 10 to 15 minutes automatically. Now, if I have to check blood sugars using a glucometer, I have to prick my finger, I have to take a drop of blood, I have to wait for the value to come. It is a painful process and it is a little cumbersome process also. But with the continuous glucose monitoring systems, it is a device. If it is deployed on your surface of your arm or in your abdomen, it stays there for a certain duration. For the Medtronic one, it is 7 days. For the Abbott one, which we commonly use, it's for a period of 14 days. So once it stays in that place, it checks your blood sugar automatically every 10-15 minutes. And at the end of the day, you have a wide range of data. So you'll be able to decipher what activities make changes in your blood sugar, what diet makes changes in your blood sugar. And the end of the 14-day period, when the doctor removes your device and reads it with a reader, you'll get a very complete detailed graph. What happened in each and every day, what food item you ate, what activity you did, and what were the changes in your blood sugar. And the most important thing, and this is the most important thing, you can actually have a visual representation of all those blood sugar variations you had. You can see it like a graph. So you know which particular day, what time, how did the blood sugars come down, how did they go high, and you can actually visualize it, because this visualization is power. You can actually see it, see the graph trends, and the trend is what is very important in these continuous glucose monitoring. And the trend is what differentiates one person with diabetes, patient A, as compared to patient B. That trend is going to be different and unique for each patient, and that is what is continuous glucose monitoring basically looking into. And those trends are what need to be managed, and not one single individual blood sugar value.
So whom do you normally suggest the CGM for?
Yes. So, let me tell you something, Aarti. I've actually done the CGM myself, and I'm not a diabetic. I don't have diabetes. So that gives you the answer. Literally anyone can do CGMs, because it gives you an insight into how your blood sugar changes on a daily basis. You know how your system is working. But what I would say is, if a patient has been diagnosed with diabetes, definitely I would recommend that the patient does a CGM every few months, every 5 to 6 months. But let's say if a patient has very brittle diabetes. Now what I mean by brittle diabetes, blood sugar variations are very high. It goes high unexpectedly, it goes low unexpectedly. In those scenarios, if you get a continuous glucose monitoring done, you will be able to know exactly what are the reasons that is contributing to this wide fluctuation. So that is what we call brittle diabetes. In those scenarios, continuous glucose monitoring is a blessing,
Okay, a quick question. When you told me that continuous monitoring is required, so is it a cost-effective thing?
Yes, that is very valid in the Indian scenario, this question. Now, you'll be surprised to know and happy to know that the cost of these devices has actually come down significantly, because I would say, with an expense of around 1,500, 2,000 rupees, this device will give you a wonderful insight into how your diabetes is doing. So the effectiveness is, really huge as compared to the minimal cost associated with this. So with the data from this device, your doctor will be able to take much better decisions for you, for your managing your diabetes better. So that is why I would always recommend get a CGM done, whenever possible, and as per the recommendation of your doctor.
Okay, that has been quite informative, Dr. Rohit. And finally, I would like to thank you for joining us and sharing this valuable information, because let it be a beginning, for us to understand and for a new healthy life. So a few words on this World Diabetic Days to our viewers.
Yes. Okay, so now, as all of us know, this is the World Diabetes Day. It is very important that we understand a few basic things. Every year for the World Diabetes Day, we have a particular, concept that is being emphasized. So this year, it is the importance of nurses, in managing diabetes well. And I want all of you all to understand, it is not just the doctor who plays a very crucial role in managing diabetes well. It includes the patient himself or herself. It includes the family of the patient, and it includes the complete diabetes care team. It is not just the doctor. So now if you go to, the models that is typically followed in the UK, they actually have a diabetes care team. It is not just the doctor which is important there. You have the complete diabetes care team, which consists of nurses, diabetes nurses, it consists of diabetes educators, and it consists of podiatrists, so it's a complete diabetes care team which manages the patient well. So that is why it is very important, always follow the advice of your doctor and your diabetes educator and your nurses, so that they will be able to give you a much more holistic view of how you should manage your diabetes well. And another important message what I would like to convey is, all of us are, in a very troublesome time right now due to this COVID-19 pandemic going on. So like I mentioned earlier on in one of the questions, one thing what we need to understand is we need not be fearful. There is no reason for too much anxiety, but take care, because like I mentioned earlier on, diabetes per se puts your immunity at slightly lower level compared to a healthy individual. Uncontrolled diabetes, I would like to emphasize that word. If your diabetes is well controlled, your immunity is well and good. But if your diabetes is uncontrolled, your immunity might be subpar compared to a patient who's otherwise healthy. So if your immunity is low, the chances of having much more complications associated with this COVID virus is slightly higher. So that is why take care, make sure your diabetes is under control, work with your team, work with your doctor, and with that, if you manage your diabetes, blood pressure, cholesterol well, you will definitely lead a healthy life ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Rohit. I hope we all would have been benefited by this short video on public awareness on diabetes by Apotek Healthcare. So before we conclude, I would like to thank the entire Apotek Healthcare team for this wonderful idea on this World Diabetes Day. So I will be back with a new series soon. Until then, thank you.